Thanks, Nadeem. As an introduction, that was the ideal introduction because it gives us a full theoretical kind of look at meaningful brands. And I'd have to say it was very seductive and very persuasive. Our second speaker is Anders Porter, and we're now going to get into a detailed case history of an extremely interesting brand from an extremely interesting man who started off in marketing and communications, then into online marketing and journalism. And then he said he deviated. My God, he deviated. He went in to become an igloo builder and an ice sculptor at the Ice Hotel in Sweden. So that gave him quite a lot of experience to apply to all sorts of places. He then came back, worked in marketing communications, and met Mike and Sue McCluskey, two extremely interesting and innovative entrepreneurs in the US who had developed a new brand in the dairy industry. And he took that brand, he's in charge of communications for that brand, and he's going to tell the story now. Thank you, Anders.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here this evening. It really is a pleasure and an honor. I want to start by telling you about the last 48 hours of my life here in Dublin since we arrived Saturday morning. And I want to do so because of the fact that my wife and I I've had some experiences that kind of lead me to be very excited about talking to you guys today about innovation, because I really see some great examples of things that are happening here that make me think like, wow, there's so much already going on, and it's exciting where all of you are with your companies and the things that are happening, that I wanted to let you just hear a little bit about those experiences, and then I'll get into talking about Fairlife. But we arrived on Saturday morning, and we're a little jet lagged, and we decide that Michael Murphy from Board B had asked us if we wanted to go out to Wexford and visit a dairy out there, and he was kind enough to drive us out there. A couple-hour drive, and seemed like a good thing to do on a jet-lagged Saturday to get through it all. Everyone knows the best thing to do is to try to just power through, right? So you can get a good night's sleep that night and then get back to life as normal. And as we're driving out there, I mentioned to Michael that we're a little hungry. It'd be nice to have a little snack. And he said, sure thing, I have a couple places in mind. And we pull into a place called Applegreen. And I thought, well, it's a gas station. We're on a gas station. Walk inside this Applegreen, and first of all, there's a sandwich board outside that talks about fresh soups and all kinds of great salads and things like that, and soup of the day and things. And we walk inside, and I was just blown away by this place, just really blown away by this place. And you guys see them every day, and you visit them all the time, I'm sure. But here's this nice little cafe on the side with comfortable seating and real silverware. And there's a lovely little display of pastries and fresh fruit and flowers and all kinds of things. In the corner over here is not just a beer section like we have in the States, but there's wine and things there. It's a complete sort of off-license little place that's going on here. And this wonderful menu to choose from. And we sat down and had a great meal. And it was, to me, I took a lot of pictures. I was very excited. Because in the States, we're not quite there yet. We're not figuring out quite yet how to put health and wellness at your gas station. We're not figuring out how to do that yet. And I thought, man, this is something that's really great, and it's nice to see that this is happening here. So that's number one. And then we returned to Dublin later that afternoon, and we have the opportunity to go eat at Fallon and Byrne. And there's a lovely example of a place that, again, is combining people's busy lives with great food, great health and wellness opportunities. And you have wine cellar, food hall, restaurant, and event space. Talk about sort of that vertical marketing right there. You've got everything right there on top of each other. And it's a way to sort of, in my opinion, capture all of our, we're so busy right now. We're all trying to do so much, so often, and so fast that we might as well have as much as we can all in one place. And it was a beautiful, beautiful meal, and just a great example of some of this, what I think anyway is great innovation in health and wellness and in the food category. And then yesterday we were walking around, and we were told to visit a place called Avoca. Same thing there. You walk in, and there's basically, and this combined a little bit more of sort of gifts and clothing items and things like that. But what a great experience to know that on the first floor you've got housewares, and you've got some food and some takeaway items that you can take home, and healthy meals that you can take home and cook yourself, and then all the way up to the gifts and the things for babies, and all the way up to this beautiful cafe on the top. And I thought, like, this is just a great example of a country that gets it. Like, it's really all about trying to figure out how do you take advantage of when people are in a hurry to get where they're going, and they're trying to do what they normally do in their daily lives. Well, let's give them great quality food. Let's give them great quality nutrition while they're shopping, while they're doing what they do anyway. So I just thought that was a beautiful couple of examples that I wanted to point out. So I want to lead with that into Fairlife and who we are and what this is all about for us. A few years ago, I was working in social media, and I was doing content management for some social networking sites. And I was approached by Mike and Sue McCloskey, a couple of dairy farmers who were the head of a co-op of 92 family-owned farms called Select Milk Producers. And they came to me and said, the fluid milk industry is dying. It's been stagnant and it hasn't gone anywhere for many, many years. And we want to do something about that. We have a product. At the time, it was called Athlete's Honey Milk. And we want you to help us figure out how to distribute that to the masses, to build brand awareness, and to come up with a way that we can add some value back into a very, very stagnant, not very exciting fluid milk category. I knew nothing about milk. I'd been on 1 or 2 farms in my life, but I was intrigued by the story because from a marketing perspective, it's all about, to me, it's like peeling back an onion. You have something on the outside of that onion, which is generally just the color of the onion. It's either red or it's white or it's yellow. But it's deep down inside that the onion becomes more valuable, right? It's what's in the middle of that onion that is the story. It's what people are there to actually eventually penetrate, and eventually it helps to build brand awareness. On the outside of this onion, I saw, here's a higher protein milk that can do something for fitness enthusiasts out there. It can do something for bodybuilders. It gives them the protein that they're looking for after they work out. But that can't be it. That can't be it these days, because the consumer is looking for meaningful marketing, right? They want to have things that drive them to make that purchase, and you want to tell that story because you want them to be with you later on. It can't be just about that first sale. It should continue, and you should build a relationship with that person. And so then it depends on what that core of that onion is all about. So Fairlife was started first and foremost to launch Athlete's Honey Milk, which the name in itself was kind of a loser, so we changed it. We had a name that basically Athletes, Honey, and Milk. If you weren't any of those 3 things, you weren't even going to look at it. I'm not an athlete. Why would I buy that? It's got honey in it. I don't like honey. I don't drink milk, so I'm not even going to try it. So we changed the name to Core Power, and that was the beginning of essentially what Fairlife is. So Fairlife is all about value-added dairy that sells vitality to health-conscious people. We started by looking at a collage like this and trying to figure out how do we penetrate into these people's lives. And it can't just be about the protein. It can't just be about the vitamins and minerals. It needs to be more about getting them to the center of that onion and telling them stories that they want to associate with. So we need to talk about our sustainability. We need to talk about where the milk comes from and how we treat our cows. We need to talk about these things, but then pick and choose places and areas where we do talk about them. So this is you, this is me, this is not just this fitness enthusiast who's running a marathon every month. This is about people who are going out there and they're weekend warriors. They're doing things above and beyond their 9-to-5 jobs. We wanted to figure out ways to fit into their day parts, every single day part, from breakfast to lunch to dinner, and figure out how to talk to them about all of that. In the United States, we drink a lot of milk. Even though it's flat and it's not going very fast, very far right now, it's a lot of milk. And what we knew that we had to do, and do it quickly, was figure out how to add some value to that milk and make sure that people started to really turn it up even a notch further and drink more. What this means with all that milk consumption going on is that it's a huge opportunity. This is outside of the value-added milk category, so to speak, which includes organic milks and the non-dairy milks, so your soys and your almonds and your rice milks and things. Outside of all that, it's a $20 billion opportunity in the States. But there are issues there. There are things going on that even that opportunity has some limiting factors there. We have, even though the population is growing rather, and going rather quickly, we're not buying as much milk. And we're trying to figure out why. We need to give some value back to that milk so that people will start being interested in it. So why are we drinking less milk than before? We look at the consumption of milk over the past 30 years, and we see that it's declining. And it's declining because of several reasons, and we'll look at them real quick. We've got an aging population. We all know that. We've got more boomers out there. We've got a lot of kids who are graduating from milk into other beverages. And you can see that really steep decline that happens in the teenage years. And it's because of the fact that there aren't enough opportunities for dairies to come in and add value to that. Because we haven't figured out quite yet how to do what the juice categories and the water categories have done so well, which is add value to milk. So today's kids are less likely to drink milk than those born 20 years ago. And that's something that we want to try to change. Another reason that milk is declining is because of skepticism and misperceptions. Consumers are looking for more than they've ever looked for before in their products. Everyone knows that. They're looking a little bit deeper. They're reading ingredient labels. They're checking out the back of those packages. 69% want to know where their food comes from. 65% want to know how their food was processed. But the information isn't always necessarily reliable. And I understand, I'm in the dairy industry, so this is coming from my perception of what is often said about milk out there. But you see it all the time about it's questionable. Is it good for you anymore? Do we need lactose after a certain age? There's a lot of sort of question marks that are put out there. And it's our responsibility as the fluid milk industry to try to figure out how to answer those questions. Sorry, wrong way. Alternatives come into the marketplace as well that are doing what milk has not been able to do, which is basically give people opportunities to get protein, to get other things that they're looking for that basically add value. So the soys and the rice and the almonds of the world are fortified, right? That's a good thing. People are looking for additional nutrition in their beverages, and the alternatives are doing that. Milk has not traditionally been doing that. Hormone-free, as we all know, is a big catchphrase, right? It's a buzz phrase that people are paying attention to, whether it's applicable or not, across a whole bunch of different agricultural food processing platforms. We know that that's important to talk about hormone-free, and obviously the alternatives can do that very easily because they're not dealing with animals in the sense that the dairy industry is. And then lactose, of course, is a really, really common thing that people are listening to and hearing about and claiming to be lactose-free, lactose intolerant. So it's really important that that's addressed by the dairy industry and figure out different ways to serve up dairy solutions without lactose. So the alternatives are doing very well. Milk needs to do something about that and come to the table with some better products. There's also this great innovation going on, and you just saw it before in the alternative milks. They're doing it. Milk has not been. But it's the same old versus all these great new products out there that are value added. And again, the juices are doing it. The waters are doing it. Milk, not doing it. And then, of course, it's an industry-controlled commodity. So for historically, private label, so milk goes into tankers and then goes to grocery stores and then has that grocery store label on it. So there's not a lot of branding involved. And historically, there hasn't been an opportunity for dairies in the United States to really brand or tell a story about their dairy. That's changing now, and we're a part of that story as well. But that historically hasn't been anything that we've been able to really talk about. No branding, no promotion. We as an industry have struggled to sort of figure out how do we talk more about the benefits of milk and not just put a mustache on a model, call it a milk mustache, and say, hey, this is great, milk's good for you. We need more than that. The consumer wants more than that. Those ads, all they did was really, they generated brand awareness for that model, right? The Naomi Campbells and the Michael Jordans of the world have a milk mustache on, and they got a lot of attention for that, but it didn't do anything for the milk industry, so to speak. The quality bar has been just right here. And again, I think that's more in relation to the quality of milk as a whole in the United States than it is in comparison to other brands, whether it's alternative milks or whether it's juice-based or water-based, that are offering more. And again, milk is just right there. It's kind of invisible because it's not doing much. Inconsistent taste across the board. I think that's one thing that we've heard as we've done focus groups and we've talked to people around the country. That's one thing that as they've moved or they've gone from one area to another, they haven't been able to find the milk that they had in their previous region, and that's been disappointing to them. So that's a thing that also has been kind of against us. And then the regulations that go on from a USDA perspective as far as milk is concerned have also been something to kind of hold us back. However, the general consensus is that milk is still viewed as being good and wholesome. We've talked to consumers. Consumers agree that it should be consumed daily. They agree on several very common perceptions and facts that are out there that have to do with being a good source of calcium, building strong bones, good source of vitamin D. And as we've gone out there and talked to them, we've also found out by looking at the other categories that fact is true. They want better nutrition and they want it from a trusted source. And these are just some numbers that show from left to right, your lactose-free products, your value-added omega-3 enriched products, your organic products, and then something that's very new in the States. I know it's not new over here. This is very common, but grass-fed milk, grass-fed cow milk, is making a huge emergence onto the market. So with all of this going on, we recognize that what we've started to have happen is that people are coming back and they're saying what I've just explained in that last slide. Milk's good. We know it's good. We've talked to consumers and they want to get milk back into their lives. They want to be able to relate it to the things that are important to them, like building calcium and strong bones and having great nutrition that they need, and they want to send their kids out in the morning with that protein and that calcium that they need to get through the day. But there's more. There's more on top of that besides just those common perceptions about milk. Right? People are busy. People want more. It's value add now that they're interested in. They want to make sure that they're getting more for themselves and putting more into their family's meals than they have previously. So a new category is there. And now I'm putting together sort of all of the things that we've just talked about to show that on top of value-added dairy, there's still that big blue space. That's a huge, huge opportunity. And that's what Fairlife and the products that we are developing right now are designed to help fill that void. So let's take a look real quick at a little video about what Fairlife represents.
I'm Steve Jones, CEO of Fairlife. We are a value-added dairy company whose mission is simple: to improve the health and vitality of people and the world. We do that with milk products that are powered by the natural nutrition of protein, calcium, vitamins, and minerals.
Fairlife is all about product innovation, category transformation, and true farming sustainability.
Fairlife is a purpose-driven innovation center that owns and controls the product process all the way from grass to glass.
It's pretty straightforward, actually. People are looking for great tasting products that have simple ingredient lists. And what that means is no chalky protein powders or nutritional supplements that are added to junk up the product. Our first product is Core Power. Core Power is a high protein sports recovery beverage. that uses the natural whey and casein proteins that are found in milk and the natural calcium that's found in milk to help people build lean muscle and recover strength after they work out. So there's a lot of people out there looking for protein, from your fitness enthusiast to your elite athlete, and they're putting all kinds of whey and casein powders in their drinks. Our process gives you that protein in its pure natural form.
We're working on something really big right now, the launch of Fairlife, the brand. It's an unbelievably great tasting fresh milk for the whole family with 50% more protein and calcium and lower sugar. This is gonna set a whole new level of consumer expectation. A great tasting, convenient source of nutrition in their everyday milk from a safe, sustainable source of family farms.
If you're setting out to transform a category as big as milk, everything has to be better. And that's really where our story begins. It starts with our founders, Mike and Sue McCloskey. They started with a belief in better farming, and better treatment of their cows, and the technology, and even our product development. They believe that high quality, great tasting nutrition starts with the highest quality milk that comes from better, sustainable farming and extraordinary animal care.
Cows love to lie down, eat, drink, and then give their milk. And we make that really easy for them. Every cow has her own comfortable sand bed, and we vacuum the manure 3 times a day to ensure that we have clean beds.
We don't use growth hormones and pride ourselves on the 24/7 veterinarian care that each cow has access to.
Nutrition matters to cows too, and that's why we're committed to providing our cows with the highest quality, nutritious feed.
So we own our own land. We grow our own crops. We control the security and quality of the cow's feed, easily available to the cows all day long.
Now, pampered cows produce the highest quality milk, but our farms go an extra step that very few other dairy farms do. We quickly chill our milk down to 34 degrees, and we keep it that way all the way through the transportation process and filtering process to keep that milk fresh, clean, and delicious all the way to you.
As a result of all this care, our milk not only exceeds the national standards, but we're setting new expectations for consumers. And to ensure that it gets to you clean and fresh, our milk tankers come from a single source. We can trace our products right back to the farm it came from. No other dairy company can do that. That's our grass to glass commitment.
Our commitment to great quality doesn't stop with milk. We believe it's our responsibility to improve the planet's health, even as we farm.
Here at our flagship, Fair Oaks Farms in Indiana, we convert our cow manure into methane, and we convert that methane into electricity that powers everything on this farm.
We also convert this methane into compressed natural gas that we use to fuel all of our trucks that transport our milk. There's no fossil fuels in our trucks. This incredible innovation on its own saves over 12 million miles of fossil fuel emission from our atmosphere every year. We do this right here on this farm, and there is no other dairy farm in the world that does this on this scale.
We're reducing the CO2 emissions into the air, and we're reducing the nitrate and phosphate runoff into the waterways here. Our farming model is efficient, progressive, and based on family farm values. We're doing everything possible right now to produce more and better milk with less resources, so there's enough for everyone. By 2020, we plan to have a full lineup of Fairlife products that meet every person's needs on the planet. We're excited for the future because we are leading the changes that the future needs, like sustainable farming, technological innovations, and great tasting nutrition, so that we can all have the passion and energy to live, do, and believe in better.
So here's a diagram that kind of shows what we call from grass to glass. And because of the what we're looking at here is we know that it's important to be able to try to tell the story of Fairlife and our products through the feed all the way to the shelf. And there's a lot of stuff in between there. And so as we learn how to market and come up with ways to come up with the meaningful terms that we're looking for that consumers will react to, we're in the process of figuring out how do they need to know about membrane filtration, and what does that mean for their nutrition, and what is that doing for them? Do they need to know about Mike and Sue as part of the story? Is this the sustainability that has to do with the digesters that we just talked about? Is that a part of the marketing? And again, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. So that we're in the process of trying to figure out, as you launch a product, do you go straight to the consumer with that information that has to do with what we consider to be closer to the core of the onion? Or are we talking about the brand benefits that are on the outside first? So far, we're focusing on what the consumers are telling us that they're looking for in their daily lives as far as their nutritional needs are concerned. But it's really comforting to know that we have this whole area to choose from. We have this whole matrix of things that, from grass to glass, there's a story involved that we can tell. I'm going to show you a little video right now with Mike and Sue.
Milk can be even better than when we were kids, and that's what Fairlife does.
Fairlife is a commitment and a promise. It is a commitment to environmentally responsible farming, to extraordinary animal care, to the highest quality of milk, to a traceability that goes from grass to glass, great tasting nutrition.
Everyone here believes in a better world where nutrition allows us to lead our lives full of energy and courage and beauty and vitality.
As a vet, the animals have always come first. But our ultimate goal is to make products with great tasting nutrition made with simple ingredients.
Having 4 kids myself, I approach everything as a mom. I know it's a challenge to feed your family good nutrition every day, let alone try to lead an active and healthy lifestyle for yourself. So I challenged Mike, if you could make, for me as a busy mom, something in a single serving where you could give me all of the protein, vitamins, minerals, and calcium that I need as a woman and make it taste great, we would really have something.
But in order to create products like this, we knew we were going to have to do dairy farming differently, better. And that was the beginning of Fairlife.
Believing in better is a simple concept, but it really and truly drives everything that we do.
Better dairy farming, better nutrition. I've always tried to make things better.
Our ability to produce great tasting, nutritious, simple ingredient products starts with better farming and continues with innovation to produce a better milk. Come and visit us at Fair Oaks Farms in Indiana and see the Fairlife promise in action. Please email me at sue@fairlife.com and let us know how we can make you and your family's lives better.
That challenge that Sue put out to Mike, as far as if you can give me all the nutrition that I need in one serving to get through my day, then we're really going to have something. That's a real challenge. And what he did was then set out to try to figure out, well, how can we do that? How is that even possible? Milk is a superfood. It's got natural protein, vitamins and minerals, calcium in it. But how can you dial that up more? And that was what he set out to do. And through a patented cold membrane filtration process, that's how we start the base for all the products that we make today. So essentially, it's separating the milk into its 5 components: water, vitamins and minerals, lactose, protein, and fat. And then keeping out a lot of the water, keeping out the lactose, and therefore you end up with a higher concentration of protein and vitamins and minerals. So again, that was the beginning of what is now Core Power and soon to be Fairlife milk. And here's a little video that shows exactly how that filtration happens.
Within 3 minutes of coming out of our cows, Fairlife milk is chilled at 37 degrees Fahrenheit, keeping it nice and fresh. Now, milk has 5 components: water, vitamins and minerals, lactose, protein, and fat, each of which has a slightly different molecular size. So at Fairlife, we had an idea. What if we created one-of-a-kind filters to gently separate out each component according to its molecular size? Eureka! So, after running the cold milk through our filters, we simply recombine the components to create whatever highly nutritious recipes we want. We can add twice the protein, take out the lactose, you name it. This allows us to craft nutritious products that also taste great. Fairlife.
Even applying the meaningful marketing lens to something like cold filtration has been a challenge for us as well, because you're talking about, the term cold filtering seems to work well when you're talking about beer, but when you're talking about milk, it's kind of new. What do you mean? How do you filter milk? How do you do that? And I think there's so much out there these days where people are expecting that if something is value added and it has more protein or it has more calcium or it has more of something, then you must have taken a bunch of powders and put it in there. And that's the thing where we're trying to tell people on one side that we are making it more valuable for you from a nutritional perspective, but it's not that way. It's not the way of just pouring a bunch of extra ingredients on top of it. We're softly filtering the milk into different components and then putting it back together. These are our 4 business units. The one that I'm going to talk about specifically next are going to be Core Power and Fairlife. But I did want to point out that through this technology, we're also in the process of developing our Greek yogurt channel and also food service dispensers. The Greek yogurt we're starting some small operations right now. We have at our plant in Indiana there at Fair Oaks Farms, we're doing a small production for Pinkberry, which is a frozen yogurt chain in the United States, on the coasts mostly. There's a few locations in the middle of the country. They do frozen yogurt, but they want to as well get in on the trend of Greek yogurt, like so many retailers are these days. So we've decided to make some Greek yogurt for them. And then the food service dispenser part of it is the technology that allows us to separate the milk into its components also allows us obviously to condense or concentrate that milk. So this machine is a patented machine that we have built that basically it's a bag and box system that once the dispensers are in place and they're hooked up to a clean cold water filtration system, you can reconstitute the milk on site, and therefore you're not dealing with, like in schools, you're not dealing with cardboard cartons anymore. You're not dealing in coffee shops with a bunch of gallon jugs and things like that. And it frees up a lot of space in refrigerators at retail and in schools as well, so that other items can be placed in there like fresh fruit and produce and things like that. We're piloting that program right now in a couple schools in Washington, D.C., some charter schools there. And I've heard great things back from the chefs who run those kitchens about one, kids are drinking milk again, because that's something that we fight incessantly in the States, is that we've got to get kids to drink milk in school, but they're not excited about it because it doesn't taste good coming out of those cartons. More and more schools are pulling things like chocolate milk out of schools, as they should. So we're reducing the sugar content in milks for those flavored milks, because kids do still want flavored milk. So we're trying to figure out how to use lactose, for example, as a sweetener instead of using added sugar, to make lower added sugar milks that we can serve out of these dispensers. So that's a very early pilot program that we're working on right now, but it is something that takes into consideration the whole filtration process that we've developed. So now just real quickly on Core Power, again, this started in about 2008 under the name Athlete's Honey Milk. Just a couple of us handing out free product in a Tetra Pak in Austin, Texas, to marathon runners, triathletes, anyone who was in the protein world and drinking these kinds of products where they were choking them down, plugging their nose to get through them because they knew that they needed to get protein after they worked out, but there really wasn't anything great on the market that tasted good as well. So our main competitors as we went into this space were Muscle Milk and Myoplex. A few of these ready-to-drink products that were doing so well. The reason this makes sense for us now, more so than it did when we first launched it, is that even in that short 5-year period of time, the protein category has really blossomed, right? People are talking about it. They want more. They might not always necessarily know how much protein they need or why they need protein, but they're excited about getting more protein into their diet, which means that we've taken that demographic of the endurance athlete and the weightlifter, and we've decided to make it bigger and broader. So we're reaching people who are, like I was saying earlier, the weekend warrior type, the people who are looking for great nutrition as a snack during the afternoon. Allows us to get into the world where we're competing with more products that even like the Greek yogurts of the world today. So this is kind of where we are right now. This collage kind of represents our current approach, is that it is for those people who are out there really celebrating life. We've become the official protein drink of a race called Spartan. Spartan is one of these obstacle course mud runs that people are doing. A lot of crazy people are doing. But it basically is you're out there in the mud for 2 hours as you go through a lot of different obstacles and things. And we've found that as we talk to those people, they're fun, they're energetic, they're looking for fun on the weekends. They're not necessarily the guys who are running marathons every single weekend, or they're endurance athletes or elite athletes. They're people like you and me who want to challenge. A lot of people go out and do the shorter distances of these, for example, with their office coworkers and whatnot. And we've just found that trying to talk to that group or these types of groups has been much more effective because it's a broader group and they seem to be more in line with what our brand represents. If you stack them all up next to each other, this is where we end up. And we found out, especially on the top line there, as far as taste being preferred, we used to go around and do blind taste tests between us and the competition. And because we came into the category with a better tasting product, and again, that category at the time was really a lot of chalky tasting, kind of bad aftertaste protein supplement drinks. So when we came to the table and said, hey, you don't have to punish yourself anymore at the end of a workout, like it can be refreshing, it can be enjoyable, it went over really well. The rest of the things up here, of course, in my opinion, have to do with sort of peeling back the onion a little bit more. We can talk about the traceable system where the milk comes from. We can talk about the fact that the protein comes from the natural whey and casein proteins that are found in milk. We can talk about the fact that we don't use any artificial sweeteners in our products. And we can talk about the fact that the short ingredient list is very attractive. One of the things that I remember when we first started marketing Core Power was to be able to turn around that package and show people that it had, our very first version, which was a honey flavored product, had 8 ingredients in it. 8 ingredients compared to a muscle milk or another product that you turn it around and it had 37 ingredients and you couldn't pronounce half of them, you didn't know what they were. So we found that consumers were responding really well to that because it's such an educated consumer these days. They're really reading the back labels of what they're consuming. So now, starting in January, we are launching Fairlife Milk, which is a value-added milk that has 50% more protein and 50% more calcium and half the sugars of regular milk. And again, this is achieved through that filtration process that I illustrated earlier. These are the SKUs that will hit the market in January and will be in national distribution by the end of the first quarter. When we look at the future, this is how we see it. And when it comes to innovation, we know that there are spaces that, like this, that can help us to grow fluid milk again. We've already gone into and developed this Fairlife milk, which is going to launch again in January. The fitness category, we feel like we are on top of, and we're doing very well. The product is growing rapidly and getting a lot of good attention. But it leaves some other places for us to play around with. Breakfast is huge. Chocolate milk, we can do better. Meal replacements, we can compete here. Condition management, we can as well. And then also the drinkable yogurt world is starting to develop more in the States these days. Slower than it has here in Europe, but definitely starting to make a move in the States as well. And because of the fact that we have our own production facilities, and we just built a plant in Coopersville, Michigan. We now have the ability with a new Procomac filler that we put in to put in pieces of fruit, to put in grains, to put in basically particulate that we can add to and therefore make smoothies and really kind of juice up the milk category, so to speak. So that's an exciting opportunity for us. I'll leave you with a few pictures of our office. This is when we talk about sort of, feeling excited about the future and coming up with great creative ideas. This is our version of the light bulb. This is the front of our building. It's open to the public, really, which whenever that door is open, this sits right on the corner of Adams and Morgan in Chicago. Anytime any of you are in Chicago on business or for pleasure, by all means come by and say hi. This milk bar right here was designed because we have a pilot plant in the back to let people come in and taste products as we're making them. We make small batches of product there, and people can come in and give us their feedback right away, which is it's kind of a marketer's dream to be able to have access to people's feedback as you're making these products. We've got a nice big open space. It's nothing like Google here, I'll have to admit, but it is. The goal was to create, an environment that's fun for the employees, and at the same time provides us with a really good and efficient work environment. The theme was kind of to bring the farm to the city, so to speak. So there's a lot of farm related design inside, and of course you got to have a pool table. So circling back to these people here again, because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about for us. People are finding in their busy lives that they need nutrition. They want it in a convenient and great tasting fashion, and it's our jobs to figure out how to give it to them and figure out how it fits into their world. So that's Fairlife, and that's my presentation. I'm excited to be here again. It was a great opportunity to speak with all of you. I know you're all leaders with your companies and what you're doing here in Ireland, and I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to more Q&A at the end of the session here. So thank you.
Thanks, Ernest. Thanks.